Okay, so let's take a moment to talk about the Scriptwriters Network. When did you guys join the Scriptwriters Network, and what was your experience and involvement with the network?
I think for me, probably 96. My temporal sense isn't great, but I think it was somewhere around there. And it was at Universal Studios at the time. And that was the thing. I was working at Universal Studios, and I saw all these people like congregating on a Saturday when I was into work on the weekend, which sucks. And I said, "What are you guys all doing?" "Oh, it's a script." "Oh, this is great. Hey, great. Let me go there." And I sat down and I didn't remember who the first person was, the speaker. But I remember, hey, this is something I'm really looking for, because it wasn't just craft discussions. It was, this is the attitude that a professional brings to the job. That's really interesting. You know, because especially when you're first starting out, you got this idea that it's this castle with a moat around it and, you know, armed guards with bazookas and all this stuff, which is true if you suck. It's also true if you go in anticipating that. If you go in really deferential and hat in hand and please let me be part of your club, you're not going to do it. You have to learn that once you take that step and you become a professional screenwriter, when you look back, it's not that big a step, really. It's before you do it that it seems like you got to jump 100 miles, you know? And so that was great to go in and see these people, first of all, dealing with it. It's just a job. It's a tough job, and it's really hard to get successful at it, but it's a job. You treat it like a job, and you do the work you need to do like you would be doing at a job. And second of all, these guys aren't magic. They're not floating in the air. They don't glow. I could do this.
Well, some do.
Some of them do. Exactly.
It was my first sense of stability in this crazy thing that I had decided to try, this adventure from moving from Montana to California in a U-Haul by myself. You know, took 2 days to drive across the country, and wrote to somebody off a TV show who, you know, helped me, you know, introduced me to a landlord. And I did all this long distance and ended up, you know, coming to Los Angeles, never having been here before, and had my little $500 a month studio apartment. And it was very scary. You know, the first night I'm lying there with my coat under my head for my pillow and looking up at the big E on the E building, because I had lived in Mid-Wilshire. That's where I ended up. So luckily they didn't send me somewhere else, a little more scary. But anyway, it was my first sense of stability, because it was a place where I could go to see people talk about the craft and meet the people that were trying to be in the craft as well. And there's a lovely energy that flows between the two, because, you know, the people that are already there, many of them have hands out to help people up, and vice versa. You know, there's a synergy between all of that. And I got to see, and forgive me, I can't think of his last name right now, but Eric was a screenwriter, was my first guest speaker I saw at the Scriptwriters Network, who talked about his experience of becoming a writer, much as Steve and I are doing now too, except his movie's out. and actually, he was working on a new movie with Tom Hanks, Apollo 13.
Wow.
So, of course, that was very inspiring to me. And even now I think of that when I rent Apollo 13 and watch that. But yeah, I met Steve there. A lot of the people in our film group came out of that. It's a great organization. I mean, I'm really happy that it's still here and it's still strong, and it keeps bringing in new people, and you know, you guys have a great professionalism to offer.
Awesome.
So, and you meet a lot of friends too. You know, it's lonely. Writers were up in our little ivory towers and attics, and
Right.
Yeah, one of the things we want to change is the old cliche of the writer sitting alone in front of the screen all day long and never going out. That's got to change. That's not what.
You have to evolve and be part of the business, because it's not just about. I mean, you have to have a great story. That's number one. But then your story could still be sitting on the shelf if, you know, the planets don't align.
Right.
And there's so many things that have to happen.
Cool.
Just like, I think, like very few jobs, your personality and your presentation of yourself matter very much in this business. Like politics and prostitution are the only ones I can think of that it matters.
Organized crime.
Organized crime. Personality very much makes a difference. And people are very passionate, and they're also very opinionated, because you have to have sort of an ironclad ego to work in this industry. And so if you find yourself in a room with a couple of producers and a development exec and a director, and they're all passionate and they're all, you know, pushing for their vision of whatever story you're working on, if you're not comfortable in a social situation, you know, it's not your job as a screenwriter to sit there and take everybody else's notes. It's your job as a screenwriter to be a dramaturge, to say, okay, okay, the singing monkey thing is dumb. It's just dumb, and this is why. And to try to convince people who are in the moment and very passionate and very sort of forceful in driving forward what they think is the right thing, you've got to be just as passionate and forceful. And if you don't have practice just talking to people, talking about story, talking about storytelling techniques, and articulating that sort of thing, you're going to be lost.